Anyone remember how the Agada start? Huh? Kiddush, Kadesh. No, but how the Agada? That's the Kiddush. Leave the Kiddush. How does it start? How does the Agada start? What's the word that the Agada start? Hakon here. No. Avadim Hainu. No. Huh? Barech. No. Ha-lahma anya. Like Joe say. I heard you, Joe. But I want them to get more excited. The Agada start with the words of Aramaic. Did you take notice of that?
First bit is
the first, Ha-lahma anya da'achlu abatanya be'ar'a de Mitzrayim. Kol dechfin. It's quite a bit. It's not only 3 words. So it's most of that sentence in an Arabic, except the last 3 words that it's mentioned about the Jewish people become Bnei Chorim. That means B'shana Ba'ah, that please God this year will be freedom. That means that the Mashiach will come and he redeemed us. But let's look at it a bit more. We have to understand. The Agada start with the word of Ha-lahmania. Why Ha-lahmania? Now, it's in Aramaic. We have to understand why Aramaic, number one. Okay, but after you read it, or when you read it, it seems like that it's meaning that actually we enjoying this piece of matzah that we show. Because when we say Ha-lahmania, we have to show that's the bread of a poor person that our sages eaten, or our father eaten, in Egypt. So, how's it fit? Is it enjoyable to eat matzah? Question number 1. Number 2, why is it in Aramaic? Did you ask yourself? Because all the Agada after that, it's become in Hebrew. Suddenly, it's in Aramaic. Where's the connection? Anyone have any idea?
That's what the children of Israel spoke.
That's what they spoke when they
were taken into slavery, into Babylon.
And when they took him to Babylon. Okay, so what's the connection? They took him to Babylon, okay, but there was an Eretz Israel. When there was an Eretz Israel,
they didn't know what to say. So
they didn't know what to say. No. So when they wrote the Agada, we have to understand that the common language was Aramaic. And that time, everyone spoke Aramaic. That's about the Pshat. Now I'm speaking about the Pshat. Everyone spoke Aramaic. So the main reason of the Agada, like we explained in the main Shaul, is that everyone will speak. What does Pesach mean? We say if you split the word Pesach to 2, Pe, it's a mouse. Sah is talking, to tell the story of Pesach. That's the main mitzvah. So now, if you want to tell the story of mitzvah, you're obviously obligated to say it to the kids, to the children, then to the wife. And the Gemara said there, if there is no one on his table, if he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have kids, he's by himself. He asks himself, Ma nishtana alayla hazeh? He have to ask the 4 question of Ma nishtana. We'll reach to it, we'll see what does it mean. But first, let's start with Ha-lahmania. So for everyone to understand, they spoke the common language. That's on a pshat. Now we ask another question. It's basically when you say Ha-lahmania, this is the bread that we used to eat in Egypt, and we're actually proud with it. It shows like we're enjoying it. How can it be? How can it be that we actually enjoying it? Because after all, with all your respect, the matzah is a lovely bread, but if you eat it for too long, it takes a while. I'm not trying to be funny, but it does affect some people. Baruch Hashem, it doesn't affect us. And you'll see why I'm saying it. I don't mean it, actually, I don't try to be cynic, but You'll see why I say that. There's a special reason for it. So to understand that, you have to look at the Mefarshim. And I saw a Pirush. Why does it sound like they're enjoying the matzah? And many people actually don't enjoy the matzah. I mean, if you look at it simply, it's very difficult to digest the matzah. I don't know if you agree with me, but Louis said, no, he can eat it easily. But I'm sorry to tell you, Louis, many people don't agree with you and me. We'll see that if we'll have enough time, I'll explain something else later on about the matzah, what our sages say about the matzah. It's a special bread. It's actually a health bread, they call it. The Gemara says. But let's focus on what we say. So what used to be, what's happened? And I'm going to bring, by the way, just remind me to bring the source from Rabbi Avraham Even Ezra. Rabbi Avraham Even Ezra, for those of you that doesn't know, he lived plus minus this, not plus minus, he lived during the same time of the Rambam. Rabbi Avraham Even Ezra, he was the son-in-law of Rabbi Yehuda Levi. And Rabbi Avraham Even Ezra said to himself, and he said to everyone, he wrote a lot of poems. And one of his songs, he said that if I sell candle, if I will be a candle, I have a shop for candle, the sun will never rise. And if I sell tachrichim lo alenu, no one will die. Why? Because he said that he born without a luck, without a star luck. We don't know. That's what he says. So he was a very poor person. And he used to travel along the world. He was a big, what we call it, a researcher. He used to say, move from place to place, sometimes in ships, whatever it took him. And he used to try to research every country, how they behave and what. He was a historian. And he brought, to what I'm going to say now, he brought a source to it. Where is the source for it? We took it from Rabbi Avraham Even Ezra. So, the commentary that I saw, why does it start with that we actually show and we say that's the bread that we eaten in Egypt, and we basically like happy with that? So they say when the Jewish people was in slavery, one of the perks of the Jewish people as a slave is to get a matzah bread as part of the bread during the day. But that bread was a matzah. So you're all going to ask yourself, why dafka dat and not normal bread? Because the Egyptian wasn't stupid. The Egyptian done it for a reason. You know why? Because to digest a matzah take a long time. Once that it's in your tummy, you feel full for a long time. So you're not feeling so hungry. So they used to give the Jewish people in slavery that matzah, what? To keep them full. So they're not going to ask for more bread. You understand what I'm saying now? So what the Jewish people done? They realized that they have a problem here. It's not simple. And if they have a problem, they have to solve it up. How did they solve it up? They decide, you know what? The Egyptian tried to keep us starved. We're going to start baking the same bread all the time. Now we're going to build ourselves, our metabolism, to be ready for the matzah. So that matzah will never actually going to affect us. And that's what it says, halachmania. It sounds like we're happy. Why? Because the Jewish people, while they was in Egypt, they prepared themselves to eat matzah even before the Exodus start, so they're not going to suffer from eating matzah. Okay? Now, let's go back to, 1 second, Russell. Let's go back now to Rabbi Avraham Even Ezra. Rabbi Avraham Even Ezra, we say that we mentioned he lived around 900 years ago, just a bit, just below. And he said that he done a research. He gone to Egypt. The first thing that he done, you know what he done? Where he gone? He gone to the jail. He wanted to see what they give the prisoner in a jail. And what did he find that they give them? Unleavened bread. Matzah. Why? Not to keep them get used to eat a lot of bread. So it will take him a long time for that kind of a bread to digest. So now we understand when we say, "Ha-lahman yada achlu abatanya," this is the bread that our fathers eaten in Egypt. It sounds like we're happy with that. Why? Because they prepare themselves. They actually work it on themselves that they can eat the unleavened bread. Yes, Russell, you wanted to ask. Did I answer you? Okay, shakur. Okay. So we have to understand, we say, before I start now the Manishtana, we say all the time, why is it so important to speak about Yetziat Mitzrayim? Why is it so important, Dafka in Mitzrayim? Did you ask yourself? What's so important about speaking about the Exodus? And not only that, Rabotai, every day we're mentioning it. Why? Did you have any idea? If you look at it, we're mentioning every day. Every day we mention it. Every kiddush that we have, we mention it. Why do we have to sit one day a year? In the diaspora we sit 2 days, and we speak only about the Exodus. We're praising the Almighty that He took us out of Egypt. What's so important about it? Did you ask yourself about it? I mean, that's the main mitzvah. And the Gemara tells us that our sages, when they was in sitting during the Seder time, Hotfim et hamatzah. So if you read it, Hotfim et hamatzah, it sounds like they kidnapped the matzah. No. What does it mean? That they go through the Seder. That means through the Agada quick. Now you're all going to look at me, where did you come from? They used to eat the matzah, they used to read the Haggadah quick, used to finish all the Seder, and then they used to sit and speak about and praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what it means, Hotfim Matzah. That they used to go the Seder quick, through the Haggadah, and then they start praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Did you ask yourself, why is it so important? Why is it so important? And I'm going to bring you a story that happened in Israel. We're talking about maybe, if I'm not exaggerating, around 28 years ago. To prove something that our sages tell us and they know. But I'm going to bring it just only 25 years ago. And that being said, I'm going to bring the sources, everything to you. Why is it so important? Anyone have any ideas?
Because God showed His hand.
God showed His hand. God showed our hand many places.
Not as consistently as
That's
that.
right.
And,
Okay.
Not against the most powerful nation in the world. At
Yes.
the time,
Yes.
And not for such a long time. It was besides the year in Egypt, the 40 years in the desert.
Okay.
And also to the last part that our land is Eretz Israel, and we shouldn't forget that.
Yeah. But the main thing that we're doing, we're praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu about the Exodus of Mitzrayim. But every day I mention it. So my question is, why Dafka that I have to make a special night?
You have to, otherwise
I agree, I have to, yes, but why?
it has, otherwise it falls into, if you mean to do something, you must do it. And it has to be done on a certain day. Otherwise you'll never do it.
You mean,
Same with all the
so let me put it, but not all the Hagim are mentioned. I don't mention all the Hagim. But here I mention Hag Pesach, Yetziat Mitzrayim every day. You know, every day I mention Yetziat Mitzrayim. So I tell you what, you was almost there. I think that, yes, sorry.
Because one of the biggest miracles is...
Maybe you talk loud a bit.
Because one of the biggest things about it is how Hashem overrode the rules of nature and all the miracles.
Number one. Okay, number one.
So used to every day, so we should remember who's in charge.
Number one. But that's when you look at it in the global. But what's the simple thing? Why? Rabota, it's very simple. That's the foundation. That's the foundation for us to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed us. Because if not, I saw yesterday, I read about the redemption, and I saw a very important thing, that it said there, that if the Jewish people, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't start the redemption, if they would wait for a few more minutes, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't redeem us, we'll get to Sha'ar HaHamishim. Sha'ar HaHamishim is the 50 gates of Tumah, and that's the Emunah. And if we would reach there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't redeem us. So the basics to all of our belief is to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed us as a Jews. He done everything to make us his nation. Now, what does it mean? You look at me easy like, I'll get to it. I mentioned when we start that subject that there is a proof to it. 25 or even more years ago, in Israel, I don't know if you people remember, it's actually almost 30 years ago. No. 25, 26 years ago. I had that show, and a guy brought a source to it. It was a Muslim terrorist that was sitting in jail. Why? Because he committed a murder. He belonged to a terrorist group, and he was sitting in jail in Israel. Rabotai, listen to that. While he was sitting in jail, it was Pesach. He is a prisoner. The guy that's looking after them, the officer that was on that duty night in Pesach was eating bread, a sandwich, and it was a Jewish guy. And that Muslim guy was lying in his bed, and he wrote it down. He documented that time. And he said, if that person, Rabota, listen carefully how they think to wake us up. If he doesn't remember that that's his freedom day, that means he doesn't believe in his own religion. If he doesn't believe in his own religion, we're going to take the country. Do you understand? That's come from a Muslim guy, Rabotai, that realized that we as a Jew, if we're not going to keep to our foundation, to our tradition, there's no use for us to be there. And he decided on that night, he wrote, that he's going to start the Intifada. Everyone know what is the Intifada? There is anyone that don't understand what is Intifada? No, you all understand. You don't understand what is Intifada. Intifada was that when the Muslims start their riots in Israel. Sorry? So when they start doing all the riots, throwing stone, try to take over what they call it Palestine. As a matter of fact, if we're talking about Palestine, you remember I mentioned to you easy that in 48 when they told them Palestine, they said, no, we're Muslim. We don't want to hear the name Palestine because the British mentioned it as Palestina. But that's not the point. Let's carry on now. We're not with that. So the basic to all our existence as a Jewish people is Erev Pesach. Why? Erev Pesach, we say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, number one, for redeeming us, taking us from slavery and bringing us to a nation. Number two, we're praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he changed nature, number one. What else he changed besides nature? Any other idea? Change nature, what else? He changed the Jewish people from slave. Here he showed the Jewish people that they're not slave anymore. Now, Rabotai, it's very difficult to us to understand that we've been 210 years under slavery, and suddenly HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed us. To make a slave to understand where he is, you have to give him a self-confidence. Imagine That you come after a full day of hard work. You're trying to take a shlof. You're completely finished. And here come the Egyptian, and he said to you, hey, Majuda, wake up. Warm the food for me. You have to. At 3 o'clock at night, he decides that he's thirsty. They don't have running water. They didn't have running facility. Majuda, go bring me water. Do you understand that? We can't even imagine that. Not only that, let's carry on now one step ahead. HaKadosh Baruch Hu changed the entire nature. That when does he start? He starts with, what's the first plague? Dam. Why dafka dam? Did you ask yourself? We spoke about it last year. That, sorry? Water, but why dafka water? Why?
That was the biggest source of life.
Sorry?
Source of life.
Source of life. That's one. No, but let's go back now. Let's look at it from the physical. Why dafka blood? What's a slave missing? Besides self-confidence? Guilt. No money. The Jewish people didn't have any money. They're poor. To build them, to give them a self-security, what do you need to give a poor person? Money. Now, the entire Egyptians see that they're dying. Now, we think that it's a joke. A person can't live more than 3 days without water. Not only that, the animal have no water. Everything's striking in Egypt. That's it. You need to water the plant, no water. Everything is blood. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu done for us? First thing, give us money. Why? To boost our moral. Do you understand how we build us? So when we're celebrating Pesach, that's the main foundation that we have to show to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to say thank you, to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, we have to understand what's happening here. According to the Kabbalistic, a person that our sages tell us, כל המרבה לספר ביציאת מצרים הרי זה משובח. That as much that you speak about the Exodus of Egypt, that's the highly level. What's so important? Why? Did HaKadosh Baruch Hu really want us to praise him? What, does he really need us? Yes. You know, on that night, Pesach, when we're all sitting around the Seder Pesach, the angels sing song to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You know that? They praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That night, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, thank you very much. I really appreciate your hard work. Now I want you all to close all the symphony. My children down there in earth praising me. I want to go and listen to each one. So that our sages ask why. Why is it? Why is it so important? Rabbosai, we think that we actually making a favor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We'll see now that it's opposite. When we praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's much that you praise. Our sages tell us that when the day comes, and when we're going to sit in Olam Haba close, that's that praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu can sit on the front row, closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Lehavdil, when you go to a symphony, when you go to a soccer match, if you sit on the top, far away, you can't even see the ball. You just see everyone screaming, you scream with them. But when you're sitting on the front, you can see what's happened on the field, what happened on the stage. It's different. You agree with me? That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. He wants you to praise him. Why? So you can sit closer to him. So it's much that you speak about the Exodus of Mitzrayim. Our sages tell us, when the day comes, you're going to sit closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now we understand why it's so important to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, let's start now. We say that we're going to start. Manishtana. Everyone remember Manishtana. In Manishtana, we have 4 questions. You all agree with me? There's anyone that don't agree with me? There is 4 questions that it's mentioned in Manishtana. So the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, as I mentioned earlier, 126 too, tell us that if a person is a sage, is a scholar person, he tells us to his son, he asks his son to say manishtana. If he doesn't have son, the wife asks. If he doesn't have a wife with him that night and he's by himself, he asks all of those. Now, why is it so important, all of those forward? If you look at manishtana, there's 4 questions. 2 symbol richness and 2 symbol poorness. Why? Did you ask yourself? מה נשתנה הלילה הזה שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה? That means, what's the difference? Here we're talking about that I have food, and if I want to eat matzah, I can eat matzah. That shows richness. שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שאר ירקות, that all the other night I eat whatever I want, all different kind of vegetables, all kind of different fruit. הלילה הזה מרור, this night I eat מרור, show again poverty. הלילה הזה כולו מצה, again poverty. So twice rich, twice richness. What's the connection? So to answer that, we have to go to Rabbi Don Yitzhak Abarbanel. I saw this commentary for Rabbi Yitzhak Don Abarbanel, and he explained like this. When we was in Mitzrayim as a slave, we was poor. You remember what we mentioned? Makat dam. That's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu make the Jewish people rich. So to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how can we praise Him? We remind ourselves that we was poor. And then we remind ourselves what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu made us rich. Now we understand the 4 questions that they're so important that our sages tell us what? Remember the past, who you was. Remember who made you who you are. That you become rich. Who given you that too? Who given you the power? Hashem. What does it come to teach us? Let's stop here for 1 second. And we have to understand. Why is that? It's come to teach us very important thing about that. And that's the Agada. That everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done, it's for our benefit. Why? Why is benefit? Tell me, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take the 12 tribes, didn't have to send Yosef to Mitzrayim, they wouldn't be in Mitzrayim, Bnei Israel. He take them from there, they'll be in Eretz Israel, give them the Torah and finished. Isn't it better? Look at the picture. No suffering, no nothing. You don't agree? I agree with you. Why, Mervyn? Oh, that's it. I waited for that word. Why to appreciate? Rabotai, we as Jews, we don't appreciate ourselves. And I'll tell you a story. It's go like this. You're actually going to think that I'm telling you stories. So I'm not going to tell you all the story. I made it short. The story speaking about a shochet, a guy that is a shochet, he gone to South America. And I'm telling you really, I'm summarizing the story very small for you just to understand. He arrived in Argentina, in South America, to slaughter animal to send to Israel. And when he was at the abattoir, you know, the shochet come and the rabbi come and they check and everything, they prepare themselves. And was standing there a guy that's working at the abattoir. And he said to him, tell me, are you Jew? The guy said, yes, I'm a Jew. Are you from Israel? He said, yes. He says, so you are the chosen nation. The shochet looked at them like this. He didn't understand at the beginning what hit him. He understand exactly what the guy said to him. He said to him, yes. He said, I want to tell you something. You know, in my life, I never saw a Jew. Now that I look, I see that you're the chosen nation. So you are really the chosen nation. And I tell you now why I tell you that. A week ago, I was at Hilton Kaplan. Remember our friend Hilton? So I was in his office. I needed to do something. And was sitting there a guy from, it's a city between Windhoek and, I forgot the name. What's the other big city in... Sorry? I think one of those cities there in, what do you call that country next door? Namibia. And Hilton introduced him to me. His name is Nico, his Afrikaans name. He's 72. About I listened to that. Dave, come meet Nico. We met Nico. What do you do? I'm a pharmacist, blah, blah, blah. I'll make the story short. I said to him, he said, look, he just told me that he bought the shul in that town that he is. That shul been sold to a dairy. The dairy closed down. He bought it back. I said, why did you bought it back? What are you going to build? You know, I was thinking that he's going to destroy. He said, no, I'm going to turn it to a museum. I said, what, are you going to restore the shul back? He said, yes. Okay. I said, well, okay, very nice of a guy like this. You know, it's a lot of money. As a matter of fact, he offered me a ticket to come because he heard that I'm a builder. Come and we'll speak. I said, no problem. Me and Hilton can come. You're going to sponsor. That's not the part of the show. I want to reach now one more forward. You know, sorry? Are you filming? Okay. Abota, you know what he said to me? I said to him, tell me. He said to me, I love Jews. You love Jews? What do you have to do with the Jews? He said, you know what he said to me? Rabota, listen what we don't appreciate ourselves. Not only that we don't appreciate what HaKadosh Baruch Hu given us. He said, you are the chosen people. I said to him, Nico, do you understand what you're saying? He said, definitely. He said, I want to be amongst you. I said to him, so if that's so much, why don't convert? He said, unfortunately, where I live, it takes 6 hours from Windhoek or 8 hours, 800 or something kilometers to reach there. There's no Jews. He said, but one day I will convert. But I know one thing. I want to be amongst the chosen people. That just for us to understand why we celebrate that night. What mercy HaKadosh Baruch Hu done with us to choose us to be the nation people. The chosen people. But lehavdil, from the other way, if we don't celebrate, like that God in the jail, if we go down, we turn off the light in the world. But when we go up, we are the light to the nation, Rabotai. That night, when we all sit together, we praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's when we light to everyone. Besides that we light our neshama and we light the heaven, we show everyone that that's our roots, that's our foundation. You can't take it from us. But that we're eating matzah, maror, and drinking 4 cups, we show everyone that that's our foundation. If we keep that, that's what's so important.